So I think we'll get started. So a warm welcome to my session. This session is Windows Phone Enterprise Management. My name is Catherine Holsworth, and I'm a Principal Program Manager here at Microsoft. So before we get started in this session, I'd like to take you back through a quick journey in time. Think back to your morning this morning. Certainly my morning before my morning coffee consisted of looking at my own private email, receiving a call from my son, and then reading a little bit of news, and then having like a little sneaky peek at my work email. And I wasn't really at work, but there's this real blend between work and personal and personal and work. And the lines are really blurred between what it means to be at work and what it doesn't mean to be at work. And I like to think of my Windows Phone as being at the very center of that equation, helping me blend that very blurred lifestyle that I lead, trying to be a mum and trying to be a worker. So I'd like to spend our time together today really arming you with information on what the new features are in Windows Phone 8.1, so that as you go through the rest of build, you have that in mind, some of the good features we have enabled on Windows Phone 8.1, so that you can think about how you're going to deliver and develop some really creative code and applications to help push the boundary of what it means to be efficient in this blended work lifestyle. So I'm not going to be going through coding. I'm not going to be telling you how to write your apps. I will give you the landscape of what Windows Phone 8.1 looks like, and I will finish with a little demo trying to bring some of that information to life. So as you saw from the keynotes and from various other sessions, we're really focusing on devices that users will love, supported by enterprise-grade security and an enterprise-grade security architecture. So here are 5 things that I think will help you as you think about developing apps for the enterprise. The first thing I like to think about is that we have a shared UI experience across Windows Phone, Windows Tablet, and Windows PC that really adds predictability around the use of these devices and therefore the use of your applications on these devices. So you only have to teach people once how to use the devices and what some of the UI paradigms mean. Second thing I like to think about is we do have predictability around the communications and collaboration tools across all of the platforms. All of the platforms support Office, they all support Lync, they all support Skype, and so it really, again, makes it really easy to be productive across all of these platforms because you have a familiar set of productivity and collaboration tools. The third thing I like to think about, and you'll be hearing about this a lot at Build, is the fact that we have a robust platform for developing Windows apps, and in particular mobile apps. And so that makes it heaps easier for you to develop applications for Windows, as well as develop applications for Windows Phone. The fourth thing, once you've got all those things together, is how on earth do you manage these devices once they're in the enterprise? And so we have published an open device management protocol for Windows Phone and for Windows as well to enable corporates to manage the devices within their networks. And so we've spent lots of time working with System Center, with Intune, and third-party mobile device management vendors to bring day one end-to-end enterprise management for Windows Phone. The fourth thing I think about is really the fact that we've got enterprise-grade security with a common security architecture and a common core on all of our platforms. And so we think it's important for you to know that you've got a really good common set of security infrastructure and a common architecture in order to build your great apps. Here's my clicker. So I want to dive into a little bit of what I mean about that. This is a bit of a busy slide, but I really like this slide because it helps emphasize and helps show you what I mean by a layered security approach and the common core. So right from the very basic hardware, all the way up through the layers, through Windows NT kernel, all the way through to the cloud, there's layers of security that we've built on. Now, one thing I'd like to point out is that I could mostly have shown this slide in Windows Phone 8 as well. So we do look at how we improve and we build on that layered security approach all the way through as we go from release to release. So as I look at this, to give you a couple of examples of what I mean, the phone has certified hardware, it has UEFI secure boot, we have code sign chain of trust, right from the very first bootloader that boots all the way through to the last application that runs. It's all verified with a code sign chain of trust. Moving up the stack a little bit, we have common drivers, we have common developer platform that you will have heard a lot about. The networking stacks, the graphics stacks, a lot of the security infrastructure is exactly the same. So for example, all the crypto libraries, all the certificate libraries are the same on both platforms, both on Windows and Windows Phone. Moving up again, we work very closely with the Microsoft Security Research Center to ensure that any security issues that we hear about, we evaluate across our platforms and make sure that we are following the security development lifecycle. So from a developer point of view, if you don't know about the security development lifecycle, I highly recommend you going to a session tomorrow night, I think it's 5 p.m, around the security development lifecycle. There's lots of really easy things that you can do to help ensure that your applications are secure and that you can be delivering secure code for your users as well. Moving up the stack a bit further, we have encryption based on BitLocker technology, we have secure browsing on Windows Phone and Windows, app containers, all the way through the Office client where we have built-in IRM and built-in SMIME. So as you can see, the sort of thing I like to think about and we talk about internally is we really want to build upon this idea of providing a security from the core to the cloud as a platform that enables you a really robust and secure platform to build upon. So I want to take a quick break from Windows Phone and quickly call out to Windows 8.1 update. There's been lots and lots of build that is talking about Windows 8.1 update. There's great Internet Explorer compatibility, and also there's mobile device management and extended mobile device management. So this is also a really good release from an enterprise point of view. I want to make sure I call out that particular release. This session is really focused on Windows Phone, but there is some great goodness in Windows 8.1 update as well. So moving on, if you think back about July or so last year, there was an announcement around something called a Windows Phone Enterprise Feature Pack. So I'd like to spend a couple of minutes talking about this. The focus of this release was for business users, to make sure business users could be productive anywhere, that wherever they happen to be, like I was this morning, I could be equally productive in my work life and my home life, right from my phone. But also, more importantly, or as importantly, putting IT in control, making sure that IT knew that they could protect the high business impact information that was flowing to these devices. Now, I want to clear up a little confusion here and help you here. I get lots of questions about this, about, how do I get this enterprise feature pack thing? What is it? What do I have to do? Well, it turns out nothing. It's just the enterprise features in Windows Phone 8.1. The announcement a year or so ago was about more mobile device management, more configuration management, application management, secure access, and SMIME. There's nothing extra you have to do to get this thing. It was just our way of being able to help our mobile device management partners be able to talk about what was coming in Windows Phone 8.1 before we were ready to disclose some of the cool things like Cortana and other features that you have heard through some of the keynotes. So don't be confused by this pack thing. It's just part of Windows Phone 8.1. Now, to lead you through what we have delivered in Windows Phone 8.1 from an enterprise point of view, I'd like to lead you through the management lifecycle, because it's a nice way to help you think about the features we've delivered and how they fit into the enterprise management lifecycle. So really, I like to think about the enterprise management lifecycle as 4 different activities, really. It's enrollment. How do I get enrolled? How, as a user, do I get my phone associated with my work network so I can get my work information on the phone? The second thing is, how do I get policies, profiles, and certificates on the phone? How do I do ongoing configuration so that I can make sure the right policies, the right certificates, and the phone is set up in the right way so that my users can be productive? As an IT person, how do I make sure that is really done automatically on behalf of my users? The third aspect is app management. So a lot of what we want to make sure of is the apps that you build can be managed by the enterprise in a robust way so that they can be updated and remotely managed without the users actually having to do anything if you don't want them to. The fourth thing is asset inventory and assistance. So once we've been going along for a while, how is it that we provide you some tools to help the end users if they need help on their phone? And then lastly, unenrollment. How do I finish this management lifecycle? How do I remove the phone, perhaps set it up for being sold, or just the person is leaving the corporation and you want to make sure that the information is off the phone? So let's start in the obvious place, enrollment. How do I get all set up? So we have the enterprise mobile device management infrastructure. In Windows Phone 8, we put out a white paper describing how the device management protocol would work. It discussed the enrollment, some certificate provisioning to get the MDM session set up, and also it described some of the policies that were manageable. So we did have some mobile device management vendors build upon this protocol, and so on Windows Phone 8.1, we really wanted to ensure we preserved that investment, and so we just continued to build on the Windows Phone 8 protocol and took a lot of feedback to make sure that we fixed any issues and made some more policy changes and updated some of the policies. One of the main pieces of feedback we got from our MDM partners and Intune and System Center is they really wanted the enrollment to be super easy for users, but also they needed to be able to customize it. So we took that feedback and we now support Web Authentication Broker for the enrollment. The next slide I'll go through a sequence and show you how the Web Authentication Broker might work for your company if you're an MDM provider. We also provided ongoing configuration management and a ton more policies, which I will show you in the next slide or two. And most importantly, we've been working very closely with Windows Intune and also third party to make sure that you've got mobile device management support right out the gate when Windows Phone 8.1 is available. And so we have spent some time making sure that those MDM and third-party MDM and Intune can support us. So here's a quick look at the customizable mobile device management enrollment. So if you think back to Windows Phone 8, for those of you familiar with Windows Phone 8, under Settings, we had a setting called Company Apps. That has now changed in Windows Phone 8.1 to be Workplace. In Windows Phone 8.1 does so much more than setting policies and being able to push apps that we've changed it to Workplace. So we'll go ahead and add an account. I put in my username and password, and then I press sign in. Now, during this time, if auto discovery for whatever reason doesn't work or you haven't implemented it, then if we can't find the server that we're looking for, we'll fall back and there's some UI in there for users to put in the server name that they're hunting for. At this point, once we detect the server, we now fall back into the web authentication hosted web pages. So these web pages can go on as long as you think people will be interested in going through them. They're totally customizable. You can have terms and conditions if that's what's important for your customers. You can have special passwords, whatever it is you need to get through the enrollment process, you can customize with these web-hosted web pages. So in the Intune case, they've kept it simple. This is an example of an Intune web-hosted web page. They just want us to have a username password. I flip through that, and then we get into the rest of the native enrollment process. So you'll notice that the native enrollment process looks very similar to setting up email. The goal here is that the enrollment process feels very familiar to users, that people are used to setting up email, they're used to what that feels like. And we want this to feel similar to the email setup. Last, there's a little bit of information saying, hey, your account's added. We install a company hub for you if the MDM vendor wants to push a company hub. And frankly, we hope that this is the last time that people will go through the sequence or ever need to go into Settings Workplace. So the MDM, you can have the custom branding, the custom authentication, and this is all done in box. So there's actually no need to have a special mobile device management enrollment application to kick off the enrollment. The enrolment's a one-time thing, so the app is not necessarily going to be very interesting or useful long term. We're encouraging people to go through the native enrolment process, use the web authentication broker, web pages if they need to, and then push down a company portal. Push down a portal that will be super useful, that is a window into the life of that mobile device management, managed phone, or the company, so that you have a portal that's always useful and has ongoing use for users. Right, so we're all enrolled. How do we get policies, profiles, and certs pushed onto the phone? So the first thing is configuration management. After enrolment happens, basically everything you need to be efficient at work can be pushed. We can provision email accounts, we can provision all the certificates that you need, we can provision Wi-Fi profiles, VPN, we can provision a start screen lockdown, and many, many more policies. As I said in the last slide, you can also push down a company hub to ensure that you can really personalise that experience for people, so they have a window into the applications that they have installed on the phone, or any other number of really useful things that a company hub can provide. As part of the configuration management, we do support configuration push. In Windows Phone 8, it was only possible for the phone to poll at a certain amount of time. In Windows Phone 8.1, we enable policy push, so that if anything changes on the phone, anything changes on the server, those policies are immediately pushed down to the phone, which is particularly useful if you need to do an immediate wipe, because you don't want to wait a few hours to wipe the phone. You want the wipe command to go down immediately. Next slide. Okay, so in Windows Phone 8, the configuration policies were really focused around email and trying to lock down the phone to keep the email safe. In Windows Phone 8, we have a ton of new additional policies. We have the ability to do things like disable the camera, disable Bluetooth, disable Wi-Fi. There's a policy to disable copy and paste if that's important. We have the ability to disable sharing of Office documents and saving of Office documents, all the way through to the ability to disable unenrolling the mobile device management session that's going on, so that people can't unenroll by mistake or on purpose. There's also, of course, the ability to do remote device wipe and enterprise wipe as well. There are tons more policies. The last slide that I have, I've got an eye chart of policies for you for future reference. And so you can always go back in time and look at these slides to find out what the list of policies are, if you're not digging through the mobile device management documentation. In terms of phone storage configuration, if you attended Andrew Clinick's session yesterday, he talked about applications can now be stored on the SD card. Those applications are all encrypted with a separate key, and the apps are always encrypted on the SD card. From an SD card point of view, photos, music, and videos are always unencrypted on the SD card, because we want to make sure that users are able to do some of the awesome sharing that they want to do around photos, music, and video. If for some reason your enterprise does not want anything stored on the SD card, they can turn the SD card off and disable the SD card via policy. They may also want to ensure that none of their line of business apps are on the SD card. That's possible as well. All you need to do is make sure that in the app manifest, you declare that the application can't be stored on the SD card. So you can have a nice blended situation here to help BYOD phones, or completely lock it down for more enterprise-focused phones. Of course, we still support the device locker, the BitLocker encryption policy. That's a policy that can only be pushed by mobile device management. There is no user way to turn on that policy. One thing to note about the device lock policy, device encryption policy, is once that encryption is turned on, it remains on, and you can't turn it off again. But for all intents and purposes, I don't notice that my phone is encrypted. The only way I can particularly tell is there's a little note saying encrypted under the phone storage CPL control panel, if I'm interested in having a look. In terms of certificate management, we had tons of requests for richer certificate management in Windows Phone 8.1. Certificate management can be manual or mobile device management pushed. Ideally, we will have certificates pushed to the user because certificates are kind of hard to understand and annoying to have to deal with as an end user. So if your enterprise can push all those certificates onto the phone, it's going to be a much better situation for the end user. The cert management, we've implemented SCEP, Simple Certificate Enrollment Protocol. We can enroll, renew, and revoke certs using this protocol. We've enabled cert-based authentication for email accounts, Wi-Fi, VPN, browser, and your line of business applications. And of course, we've enabled some APIs so that any of your applications can use some of the certificates in the way they need to use them. In terms of advanced certificate management, we've enabled SMIME encryption certs. There are TPM protected certs as well. So your mobile device management infrastructure can choose to just push the certs down to the regular cert store, or you can choose to push the certs into the TPM, depending on what sort of protection you require around those certs. Again, if the certs are pushed to the TPM, SMIME IE, Wi-Fi, VPN, and the line of business applications can use those certificates. We've also done some work around virtual smart card, otherwise referred to as two-factor authentication around the certificates, meaning that certificates can be stored in the TPM and protected with a PIN. And so the SMIME and IE are the two features on the phone that do support this two-factor authentication. So much richer, for those familiar with Windows Phone 8, much richer and more useful certificate management story in Windows Phone 8.1 to help you deploy some of the rich applications that you're doing for enterprise-grade solutions. In terms of enterprise Wi-Fi, we now support EAP-TLS and EAP-TTLS. The certs, again, and all the profiles can be provisioned manually or via MDM. And there are some Wi-Fi policies to help with knobs and levers so that the enterprise can lock down the Wi-Fi in the way they might need to lock it down. For example, we can disable internet sharing over Wi-Fi. It's possible to disable the manual configuration of Wi-Fi if required. And then there are some policies around Wi-Fi offloading. So again, in Windows Phone 8, we supported PEEP, MS Chat v2, but we've added the other key enterprise Wi-Fi features that people were most wanting. Click. There you go. This is a massively requested feature, VPN, Virtual Private Networking. So we have app and location-triggered VPN with tunneling flexibility. So we have inbox support for IPsec IKE v2. And then we're working with some of the major vendors to ensure that we have support for SSL VPN via a plugin model in the store. The VPN can be set up to be split tunnel or forced tunnel, depending on what's important for your customer. And the VPN can be totally set up by the mobile device management vendor without the user having to do anything at all, which is great, because actually trying to type in all the VPN details is a complete pain, but if it is pushed down to you and you don't need to do anything apart from remember your username and password to get to MDM, everything else magically happens. We've enabled simplicity with single sign-on for intranet and auto reconnect. And so if your app needs to use this functionality, you just need to declare the enterprise authentication capability in your manifest. From an inbox authentication option, we have an alphabet soup of authentication options available for the VPN. And as I say, it was MDM provisioned. Now we have enabled a couple of VPN policies to help the enterprise manage when the VPN is being used. The key ones we were really asked for was disabling VPN when roaming over cellular and disable VPN over cellular altogether. So those are the VPN policies and information about VPN, and it's really having this VPN has completely changed my work life. I can go ahead and do all sorts of things at work that I could never do before right on my phone. So, I can be at home checking expense reports, I can be looking through my travel sites, I could be reading our local websites at Microsoft, and it really has made my work life, and I didn't expect it to change the way I worked quite as much as it has from a use on the phone point of view. So I was quite surprised and quite enjoyed doing it. So we've added some more Exchange policies in Windows Phone 8.1, but most importantly, and of most interest to probably many of your customers, is that we do have completely built-in support for SMIME in Outlook Mobile. It's now possible to send and receive signed encrypted emails. You can push all the signing certificates and down via MDM. The signing certificates are SCEP provisioned, or as I say, imported manually. And encryption and the SMIME can be sent either within your company or outside the corporation if you can get the appropriate keys to decrypt the certificates. As I said earlier, SMIME does support virtual smart card support, and demo, God's willing, I'll do a little demo of what that looks like towards the end of the session. So this gives you a look at the Exchange ActiveSync policies. We had a few ActiveSync policies in Windows Phone 8, and we've added some more in Windows Phone 8.1. The key things that we've enabled in Windows Phone 8.1 are policies around past email item duration, past calendar item duration, and how emails are going to be truncated. And then, of course, we've added all the policies around SMIME in order to make sure that Exchange can set up SMIME. Now, you might be asking yourselves, okay, so I've got Exchange managing my phone, and I've got mobile device management managing my phone. Does that mean I can call one IT admin and say, hey, can you reduce my password to 3, and then, and try and get around mobile device management? We've been trickier than that. We have a policy manager to make sure that the most secure policy wins. So if Exchange sets a lower strength password and MDM sets another strength password, we take the strongest of those passwords, and when MDM is unenrolled, we unenroll back to the next strength password, so that Exchange and mobile device management know that they can trust the password that's sent to the phone. Right, so that concludes the configuration part of this session. Now on to app management. So in terms of app management, we had a little bit of app management in Windows Phone 8. It was possible to push one app onto the phone. It was possible to get a company hub onto the phone. It was possible to do remote update. We've added a ton of new features from an app management point of view in Windows Phone 8.1. Really, most importantly, from your point of view, as you've heard all the way through build, the app platforms are merging, which is going to make it tons easier to write apps for Windows and line of business apps for Windows Phone. The app management lifecycle is totally integrated with the mobile device management lifecycle. If it's important for you, you can either use mobile device management, or you can get your apps any way to the phone that's necessary. Either by SD card, by emailing, by sending people to a website, as long as the app token is pushed onto the phone somehow. So it's possible to remotely push any number of applications onto the phone to help curate that phone for end users. It's possible to show the line of business applications that are installed on the phone in an app catalog. And then, most usefully, we have an app allow deny list for store apps. So you might be in a situation where your enterprise only wants 3 store apps to be provisioned onto the phone. They will go on the allow list. If you want to deny certain apps, they can go on the deny list. So if I have a phone and I then enroll in mobile device management and I already have my favorite apps on the phone, and if they're on the deny list, then if I try and use them, they're disabled. We don't uninstall them for the user, because it's going to be very confusing for the user if they're used to having their favorite app on the phone and then suddenly it magically disappears. We do want to give the user a little bit of an indication that, hey, your application is disabled, go and have words with your IT admin. It's not the phone being crazy. There's a few other application management policies. You can totally disable the Microsoft Store. You can disable developer unlock to make sure that people can't sideload applications onto the phone, and you can also disable Internet Explorer. In terms of enterprise lockdown, we've added enterprise lockdown to Windows Phone 8.1, and so you can totally curate what ends up on the start screen for users. So in this case, we've just added 3 applications to the start screen. This is all provisioned via mobile device management. And then you can also, if you swipe to the right, we will make sure the app list is only showing the apps that you want them to show. And then again, if I go into settings, we will only show the system settings that are curated by the mobile device management server. There is a search button remap. You can change how the notifications are done. There's some lock screen background and some custom theming possible as well. So this is obviously, hopefully, your IT admins will not be racing along to do this to BYOD phones. I certainly know that if Microsoft changed my phone to look anything like this, I might be a little bit upset. But for some specific scenarios and company-provided phones, this is very important to lock down the phones to exactly what the users need to know and need to use. I've actually shown here just the local apps on the phone, the Microsoft-provided apps. It doesn't have to be inbox apps. You can push any app and curate any app onto the start screen. I've just noted, in this case here, I've just shown 3 of the apps that happen to come in box. Moving on to asset inventory. So once I'm enrolled and I'm happily working on my new Windows phone in the enterprise, what happens if stuff goes wrong? So we had a certain amount of inventory in Windows Phone 8. We had a ton of things that you could query. We added a few more things that you can query, including phone number. Querying the phone number seemed to be a big request for enterprises and mobile device management vendors. And we also provided the ability to remote lock, a remote password pin reset, and remote ring. So in the event I lose my phone or drop it under the car seat, which happens quite a lot for me, I can organise my IT to remotely ring the phone. It makes a very, very loud beeping, so it's quite easy to track down. Right, unenrollment. So I've been happily at work, I want to go on vacation, or I, for some reason, want to get rid of that phone. The big question is, how do I remove the enterprise data, and how do I get that phone back to the state it was before I ended up in this company organisation? So we have remote business data removal. The remote business data removal can be local. If I locally do it, I just go into my workplace control panel and I press the garbage can, or it can be remote. So the MDM vendor, the MDM server can push a remote wipe of company data only onto the phone. The unenrollment or the remote company business removal will remove all email accounts, including all documents that have been pushed onto the phone. It will clear all the recently viewed lists from Office to make sure that I don't have anything in the recently viewed list that I can re-find again. It removes all the certificates. It removes Wi-Fi VPN profiles. It removes any certs that are in the TPM. All applications and all application data, line of business application data, are removed from the phone. So anything associated with the app token that you've pushed onto the phone, all of that data and all of those applications are remotely removed. And as I say, this can be IT initiated or locally initiated. For those of you who want to make sure this can't happen by mistake or on purpose, we do have policies to disable uninstall or at least MDM unenrollment. And for those who want to get really locked down, it's possible to disable software and hardware factory reset. Although we do suggest to mobile device management servers to use the disable software and hardware factory reset kind of carefully, because you want to make sure that you can reuse the device if for some reason it disconnects from the server. As well as the local, remote business data removal, it is possible to do full wipe of the phone as well. But for many countries, doing a full wipe of the phone, particularly BYOD phones and personal phones, isn't appropriate. So the local wipe is where we just remove the company applications and the company data is the way to go, making sure that we have the applications and the users' photos, etc., left on the phone. Oh yeah, remember to show the demo. Right, so hopefully I'm going to try and bring some of this to life for you. I'll get my password in. this password in. Okay, yes. 7. Don't forget number 7. Okay, right. So here's my phone. Now, actually, I need some help from you. If you notice this thing goes all black, for some reason I haven't managed to get through this. I've only got through this demo about twice without this ending up going, without the connection somehow dropping. So just yell at me and I'll get it right. So what I've done is I've pre-enrolled this phone in Contoso server. So Contoso is my work server that we have at home. I mean, not at home, at work. So if I go into settings, settings, and pop down, scroll down the list here, right under VPN, I have Workplace. So you can see that I've enrolled in Contoso, and I last connected to the server at 1:43. Hopefully they didn't push any policies down to wreck this demo. See. So if I go back, you'll see that I've got VPN set up. So VPN here is all set up for me to use VPN at work, and that was all provisioned for me by the Contoso server, the Contoso Mobile Device Management Server. So I'm now going to go back to Start Screen here. And so I've got a nice mixture of the personal stuff I care about, and right in the middle here I've got Contoso Email. I've got some Contoso apps that will push to my phone. I've got a couple of apps right here underneath TripIt and my Office document. I've got an Enterprise Hub. So that was all provisioned onto my phone by Contoso for me. I didn't have to do anything except move it to the position on the start screen that would help me be efficient at work and at home. So you can clearly see I'm not a dedicated worker because I've got all my personal stuff up the top. So if we come down here, I'll show you VPN. So I've got my favourite New Zealand website up here. And while that loads, I am going to wander into favourites, and I'm going to pop into MS Travel. So MS Travel is what are you doing? Well, there's a New Zealand website. Let me see if I can get to my MS Travel. Okay, it's a bit slow. It'll eventually happen. Probably somebody else is doing a demo using Wi-Fi as well. So this will hit my MS Travel site. So this is a site I use a lot, and I use to go and check out my flights and see what's available there. Come on. It'll get there eventually. There you go. So I'm hopping there, and you can see that if I click on Booking Travel, it will dig down and I can figure out how to book travel. So there's VPN at work. If VPN wasn't set up, I'd be out of luck. Couldn't get to those internal websites. So also, as I said, I have my Contoso email set up for me. So here is my Contoso email, and I am going to quickly show you how SMIME works. So in this case here, it's like any old other email. I'm going to send myself an email. There you go. SMIME demo. Smile. And then all I do is I go, and in this case, Contoso has set up my email to just sign it in this case. So I'm going to add a digital signature. Now, the way my SMIME has been set up is to ensure that I use Virtual Smart Card. So I now go ahead and send this email to myself. And before I send it, it asks me to add my PIN, and I'm super security conscious, so close your eyes while I put in my password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Okay, and now the email goes. And so that's a second factor of authentication that is there so that I can suitably protect my sending of emails. Okay, there you go, worked. Okay, so another thing I'd like to show you is if I pull down into the Action Centre, you can see the Action Centre there. Now, one of the things that corporations are really going to be concerned about is that my super secret email here shouldn't be able to show above my lock screen. So if I pop into my lock screen here and I pull down Application Centre, Contoso has kindly pushed down a policy to ensure that my Action Centre is just showing some of the settings that I can change, but it's, come back, but it's not showing my emails or any of the notifications that are going to be private to that company. Right, so the other thing Contoso did for me is, aside from put some useful apps for me to look at, is they push down a company hub. Now, I'm sort of highly embarrassed about this app. It's not particularly beautiful, but it gives you an idea of one of our test apps, so we can show how you can enumerate all the applications that have been pushed by Contoso onto my phone. So don't do anything this messy, but it gives you an idea of some of the useful features that you might want to put in a company hub. Further on down, Contoso server team, my colleagues at work seem to think I play far too much Wordament, and they don't think that I ought to be spending any time on my rubber duck. So first of all, I want to make sure that you realise that if apps are disabled, if I go into my kids' corner, those apps, the apps can't be used there, so we've made sure that the app disable is pervasive through the system. Pop back, and oh yeah, okay, this is not my real phone, and that's not my real password. Okay. Come on. Okay, I think it doesn't like it when it goes into lock screen. Okay, here you go. I just need to get that thing back. I was going to twist that around. Okay, where is this thing? Right, come on. Takes a couple of seconds. Oh, come on. Okay, let me just restart that app. Get rid of that. Try that again. I really want to be able to show the rest of this. Okay. Oh, what is going on? Okay, I'm going to give it a couple more seconds. There you go. Yes, number 7. Let's go through this quickly. Wordament has been turned off. So if I swipe over to my apps list here, and I come in, we also show that Wordament is disabled here in the apps list. So what I want to make sure you also see is I'm going to uninstall Wordament. Yep, uninstall. And I think I'm smarter than my IT admin. And so I'm going to pop into the store and try and re-buy Wordament to make sure, re-download Wordament to try and get around this app management. And the thing I would like to show you here is that we have made sure, did I spell that right? So we've made sure that the store is integrating some of the app disable and enable into the store as well. So we don't want people to end up having an app disabled by the enterprise and then maybe spending $1 to buy it and finding that they can't use it, or end up having to download the application and do all the application work to download that application. So as you can see here, Wordament, there's no way for me to buy it. I can look at it, I can be excited by it, but I can't get it onto my phone. So I think I've had enough of working at Contoso, so I'm going to uninstall. Let me see, all settings. And I'm going to just delete my workplace here, get rid of Contoso, goodbye. Yes, of course I want to delete you. And so after the account is deleted, you'll see that the applications have been moved from my phone. I'll wait till that's deleted. Oh, okay, that's not helpful. Okay. I've nearly finished this demo, come on. I think it might be the cable or something I'm doing. Okay, so what I was going to show you, so imagine for 1 minute, I was going to show the VPNs removed. You can go in and all the applications are totally, here we go, yes. Let's quickly show the VPNs removed. I'll go into the app list, all settings. You can see here VPN is now disabled, at least removed, so there's no VPN set up anymore because that was all removed by Contoso. All of my applications are gone, so I've got a big gap in my start screen when they're all gone. I can play my rubber ducky, which does nothing but squeak, and this app doesn't like it. And I can then go back into my into the store, and I can re-download and re-buy Wordament if that's important to me to get playing Wordament. And I was going to do that in this demo, re-download Wordament so I can get playing straight after this, but obviously it won't let me show my screen. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of the life cycle from an enterprise management point of view, and how the device fits into that and some of the rich capabilities, including virtual smart card two-factor authentication, which can be used for SMIME and IE. So for future reference, this is the management life cycle. I showed a lot of this today in the demo. I showed I was enrolled. I showed some of the policies and profiles pushed onto the phone. You saw VPN pushed onto the phone, had the VPN certificates pushed onto the phone. There's the MDM portal pushed onto the phone and various mobile device management applications. I didn't show how to remove or install or update line of business applications. That's all possible to do, all the way through to me manually unenrolling so that my phone is left with all my personal photos, my personal applications, all of my personal email remain on the phone. It's just that stuff that the mobile device management vendor put onto my phone is now removed. Here's a great big eye chart of all the policies that are available through either Exchange ActiveSync or through the mobile device management server. Most of them we've talked about in some way today or I've demoed. Again, don't read through all of this right now. I've put it here for easy future reference so that as you're going back through the slides, you can go and check all the policies that are available. Here's a quick look at some of the third parties we're working with to light up some of the enterprise lifecycle. You saw this exact same list in the keynote yesterday. And then finally, I just want to make a point on the phones. So the one thing that's important for us is that enterprises do have the choice of any of the phones that are available. Now, this obviously doesn't show any of the cool new phones that Nokia showed yesterday, Stephen Elop showed yesterday. But the point here really is that these enterprise features end up right from the cheaper phones all the way through to the high-end phones with some of the amazing camera technology that Nokia has provided. So we've made sure that all of these enterprise features are available throughout any of this range of phones so that enterprises don't have to compromise on the enterprise features or the consistency of the enterprise features. They're there depending on the price point that they want to purchase phones for. So in terms of next steps, we'd love you to evaluate your apps for Windows Phone and see what amazing business applications you can come up with to try and help the landscape of this blurred work-personal life. Obviously, download the latest Windows developer tools and published. I've got a link here to the latest mobile device management protocol document documenting all the new policies and how the Windows Phone 8.1 mobile device management protocol does work in case you're interested in that. So really now it's time to start developing business apps for Windows and in particular business apps for Windows Phone to help that blended life. So here's some resources for you. There are tons of, a couple of sessions there in the past. They're a really good one to go see, or at least go look at, is Cliff Strom and John Vincell's presentation. That was the last hour, so I'm sorry I can't go back in time, but I believe the information will be available to you. The one tomorrow, Gears one, is an interesting one on the security features available for Windows Phone, and he gives a really good information on some of the much deeper information on the security platform and the security features available for Windows Phone. So I encourage you to go to that one. From the one at 2 to 3 tomorrow, Michael's session on the security development lifecycle best practices. Certainly, we would love you to be thinking through some of the same security development lifecycle practices that we think about when we're developing our code so that together we can have a really robust and secure end-to-end platform and experience for our users. Last but not least, and possibly most importantly, we've got some really awesome new Windows Phone 8.1 content online. The link to it is here. This is where you find the mobile device management protocol documentation and there's tons of other information up there on Windows Phone 8.1 for the enterprise. So it's quite a rich site and we'll continually be updating the MDM protocol documentation as we make any changes or get feedback where things are not written quite right or not quite clear enough. So we're constantly updating a lot of that documentation. So with that said, I have one thing to give away before I forget. So if the first person or somebody can tell me if Windows Phone Enterprise Management supports a push. Does anybody know that? Yeah, good, here you go. Now these are a really nice pair of bright yellow Nokia headsets. They'll suit you. So I'll ask you all please to fill out your feedback is important. Please go ahead and fill out the evaluation of the session. I've got a few minutes. I'm happy to take some questions. And there are people in the room here I know who can help if some of the questions are off my topic. Go ahead.
I had one question, and that is there any way that you can push the certificate to the device that can be used by line of business apps?
Can you just speak up just a little bit more?
If there is any way that you can push a certificate to the device that can be used by line of business apps?
So the question is, can you push the certificates to the device that can be used by line of business applications? So the MDM server vendor can push any certificates that is required, including those needed by line of business applications.
So that will be only available for line of business apps?
Any applications that require certificates can be pushed. Yeah.
Okay.
By the MDM server.
Correct.
Yes.
But only line of business apps can use it, not the app
No, I
store.
believe any apps can use that certificate.
So it can then be used for authenticating those apps?
Yes. Yeah.
Can or it
I
cannot?
believe it can. I see Cliff in the background. Cliff, am I right? Can you keep me straight on that? Yeah, I believe so. Like, as long as the certificate is there in the cert store, it doesn't matter how it got there. If your line of business app or your store app needs to use that certificate and it's on the device, either in the TPM or in cert store, you'll be able to use that certificate. Okay. We're not limiting it to line of business applications.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
When you went to your SharePoint site just for your travel.
Say again?
When you went to the SharePoint site for the travel,
Yeah.
You didn't sign in?
Oh yeah, I had already signed in. So that was a single sign-on piece that the very first time I got to it,
Yeah.
I need to sign in. Actually, I signed in on my VPN when I set up my VPN, and then that single sign-on transferred to my website.
And can you provision that through the MDM?
Yes, you can provision, if it's cert-based authentication, you will provision the cert that VPN needs to use. Yeah. If the websites use cert-based authentication, they can use that same cert. If the website requires a username and password, you'd need to put the username and password in the first time.
Okay, and then you'd remember that. You wouldn't use Kerberos or anything.
Correct.
Okay, and with the VPN, can you control which applications can use it?
Yes, you can. So you can, the VPN can be provisioned by the MDM to hit a certain site or be used by a certain app. So if you just want your application, your VPN to be used by a certain number of enterprise applications, that is pushed down as part of the VPN profile. And you can do split tunnel or you can do forced tunnel as well, where everything goes through VPN. Go ahead.
During provisioning, we need to issue the device certificate, right? So
can you just start again?
Okay. During provisioning, we provide the device certificate and the root certificate.
Yes.
So in Windows Phone 8, you don't have the SCEP enabled CA supported.
Yes.
Is it supporting in WinPhone 8.1?
So just make sure I got the question right. Does Windows Phone 8.1 support SCEP provisioning for a mobile device management vendor?
After the enrollment, yeah, I think you guys support SCEP
Yes.
to push to provision the certificate. What I'm asking is during the provisioning XML, basically you need to create a CSR request according to the GET policies.
Yep.
And I need to provide a SCEP challenge to get the CSR to be created with the SCEP challenge. So is GET policies being updated to accept the SCEP challenge?
So is that for the MDM cert or for the other certificates on the phone?
For the MDM, sorry.
No, MDM will only support WSTEP still in Windows Phone 8.1, and we're hearing feedback from our partners that they'd like it to support SCEP as well. So we've definitely heard that feedback. But it's the same MDM certificate in Windows Phone 8.1 as it is in Windows Phone 8.
Okay. And second question is, yes, and the documentation says you only allow the enterprise app to be updated, but in Windows Phone 8, we were able to actually push the apps. But 8.1, do you put any restrictions so that we will not be able to push the app itself?
So make sure I understood the question. In Windows Phone 8, you were able to only push the Enterprise Hub.
I can push any apps.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And actually, funnily enough, I think in Windows Phone 8, the very, very first release of Windows Phone 8, you could push anything.
Yeah.
And then I think in one of the updates, we made it only the Enterprise Hub. But certainly Windows Phone 8.1, you can push down any number of apps you want.
Okay.
And you can update those apps. You can remotely update them, as you can in Windows Phone 8 as well. You
Okay.
can remotely remove them, and you can remotely install apps at any time through the push configuration on MDM. So we've totally removed that restriction.
Okay. And the provisioning certificate which you mentioned, certificate which you provision after the enrollment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will it actually get deleted from the store after the unenrollment?
Yes, any certificate that's pushed to the phone by a mobile device management server is removed when I do the business removal,
Okay.
either locally or remotely.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, thank you.
If the end user has a physical smart card that they use for authentication and VPN to the corporate network, can they use that to provision a virtual smart card?
They cannot use that to provision a virtual smart card.
So what is a secure way to provision the virtual smart card? How do you do that?
So there's a couple of secure ways to provision the virtual smart card. We're working with some third parties to enable a virtual smart card enrollment app. So you can push that virtual smart card onto the phone, the app onto the phone, and then you can do your secure enrollment there. And so there's a couple of companies that we are working with to provide that functionality.
Okay. You had mentioned that once the phone is encrypted with BitLocker, that's not reversible, it stays that way. So
Yes.
does that mean if it's encrypted when you enroll, that it will stay encrypted even if you
Yes.
unenroll?
Yes, yeah, it will stay encrypted. Although you can't get encrypted unless you enroll. Oh, well, actually, you can unenroll and then you can re-enroll and you'll stay encrypted, yes. Yeah. Yeah. But no, the phone is not encrypted by default. The phone is encrypted only by an MDM, by the MDM. It's not encrypted by default. But if I unenroll, like my phone there, it's encrypted. And then if I re-enroll, it's still encrypted.
Okay, but if I unenroll, it's encrypted, does it stay encrypted when you unenroll?
Yeah, it does. In fact, let me just show you this phone here, if I can. Hang on. All settings, and then let me find my phone here. Pardon? The phone is not encrypted by default. On a brand new phone, it's not encrypted. Okay, that's news to me. I didn't. Encryption, as far as I know, is not turned on by default. So, if I show you this here quickly, I turn on my computer. Okay, let's hope this silly thing works. I mean, Darren, you might be right, but I'm pretty certain that unless somebody turned on, in which case I'll be really excited and I'll be telling everybody about it. Okay, number 7. Okay, so you saw me unenroll my phone, and as you can see up here, my phone is still encrypted. You see the thing there which says still encrypted, and so the encryption is only is one way, and you can see all the line of business apps have gone.
Thank you.
Can you just talk through the remote device wipe? So I send it a wipe, and whoever's stolen it has removed the SIM card. As soon as it goes online via Wi-Fi, it will still get wiped?
Yes, yeah, so the push note, as soon as it gets a connection with the server or with the internet, a push command will happen and it will wipe the phone.
Right, okay. Will that happen again and again and again, or is the device turned into a brick?
So when you say does the device turn to brick?
What I mean is so someone steals it,
Yeah.
then does a reset themselves,
Yep.
and then tries to use it again, will that still wipe or not?
No, once the phone, if you go into settings about and reset my phone, then the phone is totally reset like a brand new factory phone.
Right, okay.
With whatever updates are on it. So at that point, it's lost connection with the server, and
Yeah.
the server won't be able to ping it because the connection with the server is totally lost,
Right.
and the phone is wiped. When the reset happens, all the data is wiped, and the encryption keys, if you've got encryption turned on, are removed from the TPM and deleted from the TPM. So the user store is no longer encrypted.
Has anybody asked you for that feature?
Can you say that again?
Has anybody asked you for the feature? The ability to, once that's enabled, it's a corporate phone, it's been enabled to be a corporate phone, and I want to be able to sort of essentially brick it so that it can never be reset. There's a PC.
Oh, so you mean, so in other words, if somebody wipes it, and then when they go to reset it, it just bricks and it's a useless phone until
Yeah.
I put some sort of password in. Yes, I've definitely heard the ask for a feature like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
The MDM capabilities you described, are they limited to Windows Phone 8.1 or do they extend to Windows 8.1?
The MDM capabilities, the MDM protocol between Windows 8.1 and Windows, and including the update, and Windows Phone 8.1 are slightly different. There are some similarities. For example, some of the differences are around Windows Phone you can disable the camera, Windows you can't.
Okay.
And there are some similarities in the policies. The protocols are ever so slightly different.
Okay.
So if you do the protocol to manage Windows Phone 8.1, it's going to be slightly different on Windows. But it is possible to manage Windows using a MDM protocol as well as Intune and System Center.
Okay. I heard that there's OMA-DM support in Windows 8.1 as well?
So when you say OMA-DM support, you mean just the mobile device management protocol we've
Yes.
talked about here? Yes, there is. It's built on it's built on not exactly OMA-DM. It just uses some of the SyncML that you'll see in the OMA-DM protocol paper, but it's not full OMA-DM as such.
Okay.
But it's a very similar protocol and very similar management infrastructure between Windows and Windows Phone. Just the enrollment paths are ever so slightly different.
Okay. And what's the best way to find the documentation of the protocol?
For Windows,
Or, yeah,
actually, to be truthful, the best way to find that documentation is drop me an email,
Okay.
and I will dig it out and get it for you.
All right. Perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
my email is just Kath, so it's easy to remember, Kath. I'm happy to help you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Go ahead.
Hey, Catherine. Question around TPM. So is there a way to query through the MDM to determine if the phone actually has a TPM chip in it? Because I assume it's hardware specific and not every manufacturer is going to.
So
support
my understanding is all phones have TPM
Okay.
2.0. Pardon? So it's chassis spec is TPM
Okay.
2.0. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's no way of querying that, but it's part of the chassis spec, so
It's required.
it's
to be-
required.
Got it.
Correct.
Are they FIPS 140-2 certified, or is that a different classification?
I think that's a different question. I'm not sure if the TPMs are FIPS 140-2 certified, but our crypto algorithms are FIPS
Sure.
140-2 certified.
Okay. Great.
Oh, hi, Kath.
Hi.
The code of signing security, the code signing certificate, is that going to change the way that it gets issued and the renewal process? At the moment, I think it's $300 every year, and such a pain to go through the renewal every
Right.
year. Is that going to change? Or?
Cliff, are you listening? Yeah, well, I think this one's for you. The question is the way to get the signing cert
Correct.
for the line of business apps changing, because $300, is it a year?
It's a year, yeah.
A year is
and
not.
you have to go through a renewal
And you have
process,
to go through a
which is
renewal, and it's not a
painful,
nuisance.
really.
Cliff, can you remind me the answer of that, please? Yeah. Okay, it hasn't changed, it's the same, sorry.
Okay,
But we
good.
hear the feedback loud and clear.
Right.
Any other questions? I'm happy to take questions out after this if needed.
Yeah. Do you actually have a way to have, for example, enterprise storage places, containers, where you can save files like PowerPoint presentation of a business, and in case you do an enrollment, that this container is getting purged?
So just to make sure I understand the question, is it possible to make sure that if I have a PowerPoint presentation, that PowerPoint presentation can't be saved on the phone?
No, it should be able. You should be able to save it on the phone.
Okay, so should be able to save it on the phone. No, we
Yeah.
don't do that. What we have looked at is most people just get the documentation onto their phone, and not so many will save, is my understanding. And so there's a possibility of disabling save and disabling the ability to share that document. And so while it is there in your recently viewed list inside Office, when you unenroll, that recently viewed list is wiped and discarded, and therefore there is no evidence of that document on the phone once an unenroll has happened. But we don't have this thing of where you save the document on the phone into some special space.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much. Any other questions? I'll be hanging around, happy to have them, help you with them.